There's a transformation taking place in schools, hospitals, and cities across Canada. From smarter healthcare to connected classrooms, from resilient public services to national security, Amazon Web Services helps leaders deliver better outcomes for all Canadians. With advanced capabilities in artificial intelligence, machine learning, and data analytics, we accelerate the move from legacy systems to future-ready solutions, breaking down barriers and enhancing citizen experiences. Our local infrastructure keeps expanding. 2 robust regions on either coast, with 6 availability zones and dozens of data centers, keep data in Canada with the performance you demand. Security is our foundation. With encryption by default, AWS helps institutions protect their most vital information while meeting the highest standards of trust and compliance in an infrastructure that's sovereign by design. The path to transformation is clear. From large urban centers to remote communities, the tools are here and the expertise is ready. Let's build a stronger, more innovative, and more connected Canada together.
Please welcome to the stage Federal Government, National Security, and Defense Leader Kirsten Robinson from Amazon Web Services Canada.
Good morning, everybody. Bonjour tout le monde, and welcome to the Amazon Web Services Public Sector Symposium. This is our 6th year bringing leaders together from across the public sector, and I am honored to be here with all of you today. Thank you so much for making the time today, and I am confident that you will leave here today feeling more energized and inspired to transform your organizations and to deliver better outcomes for Canadians. But before we dive in, I want to ensure that we acknowledge the many sponsors and partners that make the day possible. This event could not happen without your support. But more importantly, it is these partnerships and the trust that we have built together that drive our innovation. From Canadian startups like Cohere to global leaders like SAP, our partners are at the center of the solutions that our customers depend on every single day, and we are better together. And that brings me to our commitment to Canada. We are a powerful growth engine for Canada's economy and for job growth. And we estimate that we contribute $9 billion to the GDP annually. And since 2010, Amazon has invested over $50 billion, creating over 46,000 jobs. And we are not done. AWS is investing an additional $24.8 billion by 2037. And AWS is deeply rooted here in our infrastructure, in our people, and in our future. And our 2 Canadian regions are integral parts of our commitment and provide secure infrastructure at scale that is sovereign by design. And for public sector, what this means is faster, more resilient services and control to meet Canada's unique data residency and security needs. Growth, however, must be sustainable. We know this, and that's why Amazon co-founded the Climate Pledge in 2019, which is our commitment to being net zero carbon by 2040. And AWS Canada is also helping to lead the transition to renewable energy. Our central region in Montreal runs on a grid that is 99% hydro-powered, and our western region is fueled by Canada's largest solar farm. And we're innovating beyond energy as well. And we are halfway to our goal to be net water positive by 2030, which means that we are contributing more water back to the communities that we serve than we use in our operations. And by expanding our recycled water systems across data centers, we can reduce water usage by up to 85% compared to traditional cooling. And it is our investments that are about protecting our natural resources that future generations depend on. And another way that we are building the future is through people. So important. AWS has trained more than 300,000 Canadians in cloud and technical skills. And through programs like AWS Restart, we are helping underrepresented communities launch new IT careers and connect with employers, closing talent gaps while opening doors to high-paying, in-demand job roles. And we're doing it together with academia. Right here in our own backyard, Algonquin College launched its AI Accelerator Hub this past May, powered by AWS. The hub brings together students, researchers, industry, and community organizations to solve real-world challenges using AI, from healthcare to logistics to first responder resilience. And we're supporting similar organizations across the country. At the University of Alberta, AWS powers the AI Artificial Intelligence Discovery Place for clinical research and for health innovation. At the UBC's Cloud Innovation Center, students and AWS experts are building open source AI solutions for healthcare, public safety, and education. And together, these collaborations are propelling Canada's next generation of future leaders and innovators. And finally, we are ensuring that governments have direct supports. It's so important. Our provincial and municipal cyber grant program, which was first launched last year, is now open to any public sector organization across Canada. And this program provides funding and AWS credits to strengthen cybersecurity and to scale secure cloud solutions. And for our not-for-profits, the AWS Imagine Grant expanded to Canada this past year as well. The Imagine Grant offers up to $100,000 in funding, AWS credits, and technical supports to help mission-driven organizations leverage the cloud. And later in the keynote, we are going to announce our first Canadian winners. Very exciting. It is such a privilege to lead our federal business and to work with all of you in shaping a brighter future. I really appreciate you being here today, and we look forward to helping you build smarter, move faster, and be limitless with AWS. So without further ado, I would like to welcome our first keynote speaker, Dave Levy.
Thank you, Kirsten. Good morning and bonjour, Ottawa. What an honor it is to be here in the shadow of Parliament Hill, gathering with Canada's public sector builders and leaders. You know, in my role as head of worldwide public sector at AWS, I travel a lot. And over the past year, I've visited quite a few countries. Each visit provides an opportunity for me to connect with and to learn how organizations of all shapes and sizes are leveraging the cloud. You know, I try to learn a little history on these trips too. For example, I read that Ottawa, the name comes from the Algonquin word meaning to trade. And in a sense, that's what today's about, sharing stories, exchanging ideas about things like sovereignty, resiliency, and innovation. And these are important topics in Canada. And when you leave today, I want you to be fully confident in AWS as your cloud partner. Just like your public sector peers in the UK and Australia who are modernizing critical services with AWS. And I want to share a few examples from those places. The Department for Work and Pensions is the UK's largest government agency and manages billions in annual payments. With support from AWS, and DWP has transformed service delivery enhanced data security, and achieved significant cost savings. In Australia, Health Direct serves as a national public health information service, handling 85 million citizen inquiries annually. They leverage AWS to securely store citizen data, deliver 24/7 digital services to all Australians, and develop AI-powered solutions. These innovations offer instant health advice and connect individuals to the appropriate care. It's transformations like these that are happening right here in Canada, too. AWS helps Canada's organizations meet CCCS and Protected B high-value asset requirements with a full range of protections, tools, services, and for us, security is non-negotiable. It's always our foundation. And it's that foundation that enables digital sovereignty. The AWS cloud is designed to give customers complete control over where their data resides. It's who can access it and how it's used. It's sovereign by design. That's why it's trusted by governments around the world. And our flexibility and resiliency recently helped the Canadian Army. The Army uses AWS to deliver enhanced capabilities for Cloud TAC, a real-time situational awareness platform. Cloud TAC provided unified command and control during the G7 summit and helped fight wildfires across Canada, serving as a proof of concept for modernizing a whole-of-government approach to domestic operations. And as Canada faces its second worst wildfire season on record, the need for resilient, secure communications is greater than ever. That's why BlackBerry's Ad Hoc runs on AWS and helps customers like the Saskatchewan Public Safety Agency broadcast geolocated alerts, coordinate emergency teams, and keep residents safe in real time. To scale solutions like Cloud TAC and Ad Hoc, you need robust architecture, which we've built in Canada. Both regions here, the Canada Central region and the Canada West region, have 3 availability zones, dozens of data centers, and it enables Canadian customers to maximize resilience, performance, and innovation. And at the center of all of this is the global network that ties it together. And to dive deeper into that AWS's cloud infrastructure, I'm so pleased to introduce my colleague Jesse Dougherty, Vice President of Global Networking.
Good morning, bonjour. Every day, millions of Canadians depend on digital government services, from emergency alerts that keep people safe to healthcare services for remote communities to benefits that help our most vulnerable citizens. As a proud Canadian myself and AWS's Vice President of our global networking, I'm here to share how we keep these services secure, sovereign, and accessible to everyone. Now, Canada's public sector demands the highest standards of security and sovereignty, standards which AWS is proud to meet. Our cloud, as Dave mentioned, is sovereign by design, built in at the very lowest level of our systems. You control where your data resides, who accesses it, and how it's used. And we operate with Canadian teams in Canadian regions with full compliance with Canadian law. Our commitment to digital sovereignty is evidenced by our AWS Nitro system, the foundation of our computing services. There'll be another talk at this conference if you're interested in learning more. Nitro is like having your own private vault in a secure building, surrounded by a moat filled with sharks. Nobody else can get in, not even us. Not even AWS. It is entirely dedicated to you. We custom-built Nitro with no backdoors, no shared components that can be exploited. and no performance trade-offs. This is important, security without the trade-offs. This means your workloads run in an environment that is effectively tamper-proof, giving you a level of assurance that no other cloud provider can match. It's not just us saying this. Nitro security has been independently verified. The system's pioneering design is one of the reasons AWS is trusted to run some of Canada's and the world's most sensitive workloads, from defense to healthcare to critical government systems. This security extends across the largest and most resilient cloud network there is, with dozens of regions and hundreds of availability zones across the world. Our global infrastructure spans more than 6 million kilometers of fiber optic cable. Now, to picture that, that's enough to circle the Earth 150 times. Or more importantly, that's enough to stretch from here to my office in Vancouver, back and forth, 1,700 times. That's very big. Every day, this network processes traffic for millions of customers and makes millions of automated adjustments in real time to ensure data flows along the most secure available path. We built this network from the ground up to meet these needs. And the scale just keeps growing. Picture this, I told you how big it is. Last year, we near doubled the size of our global network. That's the amount of scale and growth that we're talking about. That backbone is our private network that carries your traffic securely across the world. And the fact that we can grow that quickly means that your workloads will not be limited when they grow and when they scale, when you want to reach Canadians across the globe. Now, it's great to have a strong, secure foundation. It's cool to have a really big network that thinks really fast. But that's not really enough, because there's adversaries out there, and networks are important to protect. Every day, AWS automatically blocks more than 7 billion unauthorized scanning attempts. That means our most sensitive workloads, your most sensitive workloads, are constantly defended by this system that can learn and adapt in real time. But I go even further. Blocking scanning isn't enough, right? Because you can't just sit passively and let people attempt to access your network. We go further than that with active defenses that deter and take down the adversaries that are attempting to access your cloud resources. For example, AWS security experts recently helped to bring to justice 2 leaders of the international cybercrime group Anonymous Sudan. One of the systems they used was an internal system we have called MadPot. MadPot is a threat intelligence system that we operate which mimics vulnerable software and services across our global estate and attracts bad actors to attempt to exploit our systems. At any given time, there are thousands and thousands of these running, and we move them around and switch them up, make sure no one can track what's happening. What happens is we catch the attempted attack as they try and connect into one of these vulnerable systems. We infiltrate their networks, we scan their infrastructure, and we learn their techniques and practices so that we can update our defenses in real time to protect against them attacking you. Picture, for example, if we infiltrate or are listening in on a command and control network for one of these systems, we can tell when they send the attack to the command to attack before the attack begins. These are available in every connected region and provide protection for every AWS customer at no extra cost. Over the last 6 months alone, these MadPots and this defense system have prevented over 2.4 trillion malicious requests. It is this level of security and scalability and commitment to sovereignty that helps accelerate your missions. Canada already stands at the center of one of the world's most advanced digital infrastructures in the world. And as Kirsten highlighted earlier, AWS has made very significant long-term investments that ensure that it keeps it that way, that Canada will stay at the center. For you, that means the confidence that your organizations will always have access not just to today's technologies, not just to today's defenses, but also to tomorrow's as we continue to innovate and update the cloud, the network, and our defense systems. Now, I'm so proud and humbled to be here because all of you are helping to define Canada's digital future. And I'm honored to be your partner. AWS is honored to be here with you. And together we can protect communities, modernize government, and deliver world-class digital services to every single Canadian. So thank you very much for being here.
Thanks, Jesse. You and your team have been a big part of building our global network, keeping our customers active and safe. And if you want to hear more from Jesse, check out his session at 11:30. With secure, sovereign by design infrastructure, AWS makes things simple for you. We're committed to this because you already deal with a lot of complexity. And because we manage the underlying infrastructure, you can stay focused on executing these critical missions, modernizing legacy, and transforming the delivery of citizen services. Our services perform specific tasks really well. It's the hallmark of what we do, and we make it simple for you to combine these services. This concept of building blocks is how customers invent and innovate. There are 4 building blocks, and they're accessible at any stage of your cloud journey. Let's start with compute. At AWS, you can get as much compute as you need to support your workloads from a variety of options like virtual servers, containers, and functions. Take Amazon EC2. It has more than 850 instance types. So whether you're building a simple constituent website or a complex AI model, you can access the ideal amount of compute for any workload. Customers consistently tell us that the choice and flexibility are the critical things for meeting their needs. Globally, more than 11,000 government organizations take advantage of that computing versatility when they build on AWS. They're running every imaginable use case and workload across their mission, across their business operations. Like Farm Credit Canada, which provides billions of dollars in financing to the agriculture and food industry. FCC runs several critical workloads on AWS, including data modernization, business intelligence, virtual desktops, testing environments. The cloud has improved operational efficiency and scalability, enabling Farm Credit Canada to enhance its financial and business services while also exploring AI and automation. Moving to storage, we launched S3 in 2006 to enable you to store anything and access it from all of your services. S3 now holds more than 4 trillion objects, and many Canadian organizations use S3 to store and manage their data securely. Criticall Ontario, a 24-hour emergency consultation and referral service for physicians, recently moved into the cloud without disruption. With S3's scalability, security, and performance, their new system is set to handle 30 million HL7 health data messages annually, showing how AWS storage makes this mission possible. Beyond storage, AWS offers really powerful databases to help customers organize and analyze their data. Our databases maintain consistency as your data scales across distributed systems. This helps break down silos and unlock more value from your information. So with virtually unlimited scalability and serverless design, you can implement multi-region, active capabilities while managing complete control over data residency. You heard Jesse say it, but I really want to emphasize and reiterate this. You have full and perpetual control over where your data resides. Nobody can access your data and applications, not even AWS. So now that we've covered compute and storage and databases, Let's hear from a government department that's combined these building blocks and is delivering the largest IT transformation in the history of the Government of Canada. Please welcome Deputy Minister John Ostrander from Employment and Social Development Canada to the stage. All right, let's
Morning,
get started.
everyone.
Deputy Ostrander, thank you so much for being here, for flying in today, just to do this for us.
My pleasure.
You're currently overseeing the Canadian government's largest IT transformation project. That sounds like a big deal. Tell us about the history and the scope of the Benefits Delivery Modernization Program. What does it involve? What have been some of your biggest challenges in such a large-scale project?
Okay, great. Well, that's a long answer to a long question, but I'll do my best. So Benefits Delivery Modernization, I guess, started about 2017 with a vision to transform the core statutory benefits that we use to support Canadians from coast to coast to coast. So just as a data point, between old age security, guaranteed income supplement, employment insurance, and Canada Pension Plan, we disperse over $150 billion a year in benefits, which is it's a significant amount of money, but it's also significant because of the people that it supports across the country. Excuse me. So the vision was to modernize and frankly digitize the delivery of these benefits. And for some of these benefits, they go back 65 years. So we used to say that old age security could apply for the benefit. That was a joke. Didn't do well, but you know. Yeah. But anyways, these are old. These are old systems, and the challenge with them, it's not so much the underlying technology. It's the fact that it's years and years and years of accumulated technical debt. They're difficult to maintain, but more importantly, they're difficult to scale, and they're difficult to change. A change in legislation or a change in policy could take many, many months to implement. And given the rate and pace of society today, and given the rate and pace of changes in society, we need to be a lot more flexible and a lot more agile. So BDM was designed to replatform these benefits onto a modern human-centered designed platform and move from the legacy on-prem technology into the cloud. And that's the vision. It's a 10-year program. It's expected to end by 2030, 2031. It's billions of dollars of commitment from the government to do this. And we're quite excited by the opportunity. We were very successful in March, moving old age security onto the new platform. So we moved 7.5 million people onto a new platform over a weekend, frankly. And since that system has moved, we've made over 40 million payments and over $45 billion has been dispersed. So these systems are not just social benefit administration systems, they're payment systems. They have to be reliable. They have to pay accurately, and they have to support Canadians from coast to coast to coast. And we need to do that in a way that's modern, in a way that's digital, and in a way that is responsive to the needs of Canadians.
That's remarkable. And what you described, the stakes are really high. Yep. They're high stakes for citizens. They're high stakes for your organization. We see this happening across the world. What do you think enabled you to take that step forward towards modernization?
Well, I think it was, there were some great visionaries at the beginning of the program. I couldn't not give credit to Benoit Long, who actually had the vision for this. But honestly, I think it's really driven out of need, and I think it's driven out of a recognition that we need to be there. We need to meet Canadians where they are. We need to provide services the way they want to receive services, and we need to provide those services in their channel of choice. So, I think, back in 2017, I think it was incredibly visionary. And you have to remember, this is all happening under the cloud of Phoenix. So for the government, I think, to be as committed as they are to this, under that cloud, I think two things. I think one, it made it very, very high risk, for the public service. But secondly, I think it just showed the determination of the government to do the right things, for our citizens and to provide them services the way that they want to receive them.
That's great. What a great journey. Deputy, you spent many years at IBM, and it occurs to me we may have crossed paths when I was at another company. I had hair then, so you probably don't remember me. But you spent many years there before joining ESDC. How do you think that private sector experience prepared you for leading the BDM organization?
Really, really good question. Look at there are lots of differences between the private sector and the public sector. And by the way, I think everybody should take a trip through the public sector because it's an incredibly rewarding, fulfilling, and educational experience. I do have to say that. And when I first arrived at ESDC, I was absolutely awestruck by the knowledge, by the commitment, by the passion, of the people that work there. I call it a cloud, right? There's this cloud that continues to be, propagated that, public sector is slow, it's bureaucratic, it can't do big things, it can't do things well, it's late, it spends money recklessly. I just, having been there, that's not been my experience. So I just wanted to have a shout out to all of you in the public sector that I think work so hard every day to be responsible stewards of the public purse. I think the big difference between the private sector and the public sector is the private sector moves a little bit faster. It doesn't have the weight of governance. It doesn't have, the weight of access to information and, all the things that, are necessary, when you're running, the government of Canada. So, speed is definitely one thing that I think, was different. And I think as you come into government, you have to recognize that things do move at a pace, and the governance is there, for a reason. And I have a much greater appreciation for that than I did, when I first came in. But I can also tell you the problems that we face in the public sector are not dissimilar to the problems that the private sector faces. We have spend problems, and we have expense problems, and we have, headcount problems, and we all have ambitions around transformation. Those problems are the same between public and private sector. It's just how they're solved, has some differences. But I think I think the difference for me, though, was having been in this industry for a long time, I did have some appreciation for large program management and how to do large transformations. I had very little appreciation for the public sector, and I think the marriage between that private sector experience and that public sector expertise, I think, was very powerful, and it did enable us, to move forward and to deliver something that, frankly, was on a path to fail. But I think it's also about courage, right? I think there's a lot of very courageous people in the public sector that, take these projects on and deliver outstanding results. And I think in any large transformation, courageous leadership is probably the one attribute that I think everyone needs to embrace as we go forward.
You mentioned being awestruck when you came in, and that really resonates. And me and my teams, we've had the privilege of working around public sector for a long time and public servants. And one of the things we think about is how do we equip them with the best tools to do those things and to be courageous and to deliver and bringing them the best to breed. But sometimes that's not always possible to do in a short amount of time. You've been in this role for a few years now. If you could tell your earlier self something before you joined ESDC that could have helped you accelerate on the mission, what would it be?
Yeah, I'm not really sure what that would be, to be perfectly candid. I think I can I can always look back and say, geez, I wish I could have done this differently or better. That wasn't the mindset that I adopted when I came in. I really adopted a mindset of I have a set of skills that I think I can bring to the table, but I also know that the public sector has a very, very deep set of skills that they also bring, and so how do we come together and how do we complement those things? I think what I kind of really focused on when I came was not the technology, not the program, not what we were trying to do. Of course, that was a big deal. That was important. We had to deliver, but I think we worked together on culture and change and courageous leadership, because this is a big, big, big thing that we're doing. We are responsible, right, for paying millions and millions and millions of people a benefit every month, and that's a daunting weight. I remember when we launched OAS, just a fun fact for people in the room. We had a bit of a saying, I suppose. We could have had 3 prime ministers through this transition of OAS. We started under Prime Minister Trudeau. We were beyond the point of no return when Prime Minister Carney was made the leader of the Liberals, and we actually did the transition on Election Day. Wow. There were lots of nervous people around that, but it was courage, right? Yeah. It was courage. Yeah. It was the courage to know that we had done our validations, we had done our testing, that the thing would work. And it was also a little bit of being comfortable, being uncomfortable, right? It was a tough place to be in a tough decision, but that came together. The expertise of people like myself and the deep expertise of the public sector coming together to make that decision, to make that commitment, and to know that we were about to not only impact potentially seniors in this case, but we were going to change the ways that 5,000 people did their job overnight. And that is daunting, and understanding that culture, understanding the magnitude of that change, I think was a lot of what the public sector brought to the table as well.
That's really remarkable, and I'll throw you a little bit of a curveball. What do you see for the future for these sorts of transformations, and what advice would you give for others that are going through big transformation, but also things that are going to have real meaningful impact to the country and to citizens?
I think the country's changing, and I think we've got a prime minister and a cabinet and that are very motivated to do big things and to do big things quickly. So, we are all going to have to collectively get comfortable being a little bit uncomfortable. We're all going to have to move at maybe a speed that we're not used to. We are probably going to have to figure out how we can flex some of the rules and processes we still operated in this Westminster government, which is, can be a challenge around the complexity and the web of authorities and things like that. But I think it's not, for me, it's less about the technology, and I think it's more about the change. And I think that's what we all need to really focus on, is the degree to which things are changing. We talk about AI, there's a lot of talk about AI, and there's a lot of fear about, what is going to happen when we introduce AI. I actually see AI as a real opportunity to make us more productive, but to also increase the content and the value of the jobs that we do. I think it's an opportunity to move to higher value work. And I think, we should be a little less worried about what AI is going to do to us. I think we should be thinking more about what AI can do for us and how it can make us more productive and how it can help drive and propel the change, that is going to be needed. And I hope everybody keeps that, in mind. Sure, it's about becoming more productive, and there's a lot of fear with AI. Of course, we have to be, ethical, and Sure. We have to manage sensitive information and things like that. But honestly, think of it as an opportunity. Don't think of it as a limiter. It really is an opportunity, I think, to really accelerate the degree of transformation that we can do across the federal public service.
Yep. Well, Deputy Ostrander, thank you so much. Thank you for your time today and sharing the story and the impact that you're having across Canada is remarkable. And it's obvious that the stakes are very high. So we appreciate the courageous leadership of you and everyone in the organization. And really at AWS, we're just honored to be your partner. We're here to support in any way that we can. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yep. This story really shows how the first building blocks are the foundation, but there's a cultural element too. And as we think about AI, Deputy Ostrander mentioned the future with AI and how it can enable more. I want to add a fourth building block, inference, which takes transformation to the next level. Generative AI is progressing rapidly. It's evolving into models that think, reason, and act. And there's a tremendous amount of momentum around AI, and rightfully so. It's going to help transform how you operate and how you serve constituents. And for us at AWS, we believe we're the best, easiest, and most performant place to build and scale Gen AI applications with our Amazon Bedrock service. Bedrock helps you build Gen AI apps that work well today and into the future. And this is important because, like we've been talking about, technology keeps changing, and it keeps changing faster. But Bedrock has all the features that help you keep pace. Features like model choice, customizations, and trust and security, scalability, affordability, and utility. There's no one-size-fits-all model, so Bedrock makes it easy for customers to access a variety of the world's leading foundation models from premier providers. This includes Amazon's own Nova Lite, a model that's price performant, it's multimodal, and it processes images, video, and text, and it does it lightning fast speed. So I'm thrilled to announce that Nova Lite is going to launch in the Montreal region any day now. The model's direct availability in Canada through Bedrock will be a significant breakthrough in data sovereignty. You'll be able to build sophisticated AI applications while ensuring that your data remains within Canada. Visit our AI booth and check out the Builders Fair to learn more about Nova. Trust and security are paramount for Gen AI apps. So Bedrock Guardrails helps block harmful or unwanted inputs and outputs using automated reasoning. Bedrock fights AI hallucinations with math techniques to help prevent factual errors and provide verifiable proof that a response is accurate. Bedrock can also help reduce inference costs without sacrificing performance. Model distillation uses the outputs of a complex model to train a smaller model. Distilled models in Bedrock are up to 500% faster and up to 75% less expensive than the larger models they're trained on. So before I cover another Bedrock feature, let's look at some real-world examples. Earlier this year, the Municipal Property Assessment Corporation launched an AI-powered IT support assistant. It's built on Bedrock. The assistant provides impact employees with rapid, autonomous, 24/7 answers to IT questions. The tool's average response time is 4 seconds. That frees up teams to focus on complex issues, and it materially lowers cost. Now, AlayaCare is a health tech company and one of the first Canadian customers to deploy an AWS-based generative AI solution into production. Their AI assistant, Layla, helps caregivers reduce administrative tasks and enables patients to interact with care plans conversationally. With AWS, AlayaCare is conducting multi-region deployment of Layla while meeting healthcare data residency requirements and maintaining performance. Now back to Bedrock and some of the features. Utility is another one, and perhaps it's really the most exciting feature. It's because of AI agents. autonomous software systems that complete tasks on your behalf. While agents have enormous potential, getting them into production is actually challenging. So in July, we launched Amazon Bedrock Agent Core. It's a set of services which help deploy and operate agents securely and at scale using any framework or any model. We're working hard to make Agent Core available in Canada next year. So in the meantime, there are workflows where AI agents can help right away. Amazon Connect is an AI-powered contact center service that can help you transform your customer experience. Gartner and Forrester both recognize Connect as a leader in contact center as a service. Connect's already making a difference at places like the Provincial Health Services Authority in British Columbia. PHSA is advancing their citizen-facing service capabilities by transitioning 13 contact centers and 300 agents to Connect. This transformation supports critical healthcare services and sets new standards for patient communication. So you can learn more about Connect by visiting the red phone booths that are outside the foyer. We retrofit them to interactive demos of Connect. Please pop in and check them out. So agents can also help you democratize access to data, analytics, and AI across your organization so that you can build faster. Amazon SageMaker Unified Studio became generally available this year, and it combines our best analytics services with our widely adopted SageMaker service so that you don't have to jump between multiple tools and interfaces anymore. Now here's the but. To take advantages of services like SageMaker Unified Studio and the AWS building blocks, you need to be in the cloud. Migrating can unlock huge value, but it can be slow and costly. And this is where AI can really help. And I know many of you are considering VMware migrations and thinking through the challenges. Well, AI agents can help streamline those migrations. We have agents that can automatically convert VMware networking configurations and firewall rules into native AWS constructs. And they do it up to 80 times faster, much faster than traditional approaches. So make sure you talk to your account team at AWS and learn about all the different migration pathways. The speed with which AI agents can solve complex problems is transformative. Now that's not hyperbole, and neither is the fact that Cohere, a Canadian company, is one of the world's leading AI model providers. Let's learn a little bit more.
Please welcome to the stage the Director of AWS Global AI and Canada Public Policy, Nicole Foster, and the Chief AI Officer at Cohere, Joelle Pineau.
Well, welcome and congratulations on your new job. You're only days in your role at Cohere, so it's quite a coup to get you here on our stage. Thank you so much for being here. And you've worked for some of the biggest names in technology, but always managed to anchor your career in Canada. How have you pulled that off, and why was that so important to you?
It's a pleasure to be here with you as well, Nicole. It's just great to have a chance to be in a place where you can actually work on some of the world's most important problems. I've been working in AI for 30 years. I would say when I was in the early days, it was a very obscure topic, mostly working out of an academic lab, but as AI just jumped into the scene, 2012, 2017, 2022, every 5 or 6 years or so, we see major progress. A lot of that work has moved towards industry, and you needed to really be in an industry environment to be able to take the solutions and scale them and really see what works and what doesn't. So I've had an incredible chance to work on some of the biggest AI systems, previously at Meta, now digging in with Cohere, which is one of our most amazing Canadian-based and Canadian-grown company that builds on years of investing in Canadian talent in AI. We've had an amazing strategy on the education side. I've had the chance to support many young scholars for years that would leave Canada, pursue their career elsewhere. So for me to stay here and to say we can do it from here, we can contribute on the global scale, but do it from here and give those opportunities, I think is really important.
So we just heard Dave talking a little bit about Bedrock, and when we got the materials for the announcement for Bedrock, being Canadian, my first thing that I looked for was Cohere on the list. Was it going to be part of Bedrock? So I was super excited to see that it was one of the companies whose models we were offering on Bedrock. And we talk a lot about model choice and that different models are kind of suited for different types of use cases. What is special about Cohere's models? And why are customers reaching for Cohere?
Yeah, and I think we have to understand we're like really early on in terms of the adoption curve for AI. So, having access to multiple models, being able to try them out and compare them is going to be really important for many organizations who are sort of first adopting models. One of the reasons I'm super excited to be joining Cohere to contribute to building that is, on the one hand, they have the ability to build models at scale. They have the ability to build models in terms of generative models, the Command A line of models, and agentic models, so the North line of products. This is really where the core of the technology is today, the ability to generate content and then use that to take actions and facilitate the ability to essentially carry out productive work. The technology is at a point where different models are going in different directions. For Cohere from day one, it's always been focused on enterprise use cases. So that means in terms of the data that's ingested, how the models are trained, how the evaluations are done, it is focused on these use cases. I do think that's where the productivity gains are going to be the biggest. It's also a company where from day one they've been really focused on safety, security, and privacy being at the core of the models. This is not a nice to have, this is a must have. That means that the models are particularly useful in regulated sectors, finance, healthcare, and others. On a lot of government services, absolutely essential also. And finally, I also think that right now it is important for people to understand what the models are doing. Having transparency, having accountability, being able to probe into the behavior of these models is going to be important. And that's one of the other features of the Cohere lines of models.
So perfect segue into talking a little bit about responsible AI and being in the policy space for me. Obviously, we've been working on these questions for a long time. And within Bedrock, there's tools for customers to use that are customizable based on their use case. So whether it's guardrails or model monitor, to help customers kind of deploy quickly, but also responsibly, because a lot of effort goes into how you think about different trade-offs or managing risk based on your use case. So can you talk a little bit more about how you think about that at Cohere as well?
And if I'll open up a little bit of a parenthesis, I spent a lot of my work, especially the sort of the first academic half of my career, focused on notion of reproducibility and transparency. Going back to the science, the notion that if we can understand the behavior of the systems we're building, that feeds back into developing the technology. And so, project that now to what we are doing, providing the tools that are necessary, first to specify what the model should be doing, and then to assess over time whether the behavior of the model matches that is a big priority. There's usually a couple components to that. One of them is specifically, are we meeting our obligations in terms of safety and privacy? What does that look like? And so providing the transparency for that. And then it's the actual behavior of the model with respect to the different capabilities that are enabled. That may change from one use case to another, but having a really easy way to diagnose when something goes wrong. And finally, it is that, that closing the loop when the behavior of the model doesn't match the expectation, having the ability to feed that back into the system. One of the most interesting problems that is still on the research, and we're not seeing that yet coming into product, but is this notion of continual learning, systems that are always learning over time. And we're going to need to bring that into those systems over time.
So your work is never done.
Of course not.
So Cohere is Canadian-born but
Yes.
globally ambitious,
Yes.
which I love. Can you talk a little bit about how the cloud is helping Cohere reach those global ambitions?
One of the important properties of Cohere is to allow various clients, users to deploy in a way that's compatible with their goals. So in some cases, that means on-premise. In some cases, that means on a private cloud. And for many of them, there's also an important aspect of growing globally. Of course, Cohere has ambitions to grow globally, but many of the clients do as well. And so having an infrastructure partner who has the experience to do that, who can provide private cloud solutions, who can provide solutions that grow globally very quickly is really important. So I think there's a very natural partnership there.
Well, we're delighted. We have a public sector audience here, and I always say that kind of the magic of AI is the technical capability married with data, but also married with that kind of deep sector expertise. From your perspective, where do you see kind of great opportunities for AI to have an impact in the public sector?
There's a lot of opportunities. I mean, at the base of it, the public sector serves individuals and societies across so many aspects of their lives. As AI is progressing, we are moving towards more and more general models that can capture a broader set of tasks. One of the areas where Cohere has invested a lot is in multilinguality. I would say it's leading solutions in terms of being able to operate in several languages. That matters quite a bit here in Canada. Extending from multilinguality to multicultural aspects, being able to capture various aspects, fundamental values that we want these systems to have. I think that's one of the reasons we're having Canadian homegrown AI solutions is actually going to help us do that much better. The public sector is an increasingly complex set of operations, services that we're trying to deliver to citizens. And so to some degree, like reducing that complexity through the use of AI, providing solutions that can still deliver the same services, but doing with a lot less complexity, I think is going to be quite important.
So, I started doing AI policy in about 2020, and that was when we were sort of focused mostly on, computer vision, facial recognition, all those types of topics. And then every year there's been sort of new waves of new things that I have to learn, and everybody in this room has to learn. And so from generative AI and large language models to agentic AI, you are at the cutting edge of what's happening. What are we watching for next?
So this is finally the year where everyone has to learn about reinforcement learning, and I would have to come back and spend more time on that. But that's actually my area of expertise. I've been working on that for 30 years. It's essentially the ability to train machines through a feedback of sort of positive and negative reward to shape the behavior of the system. And so a lot of the agentic behavior that we're seeing, whether it's in the North product or other models, this agentic behavior where the AI is taking actions actually is trained through a principle of reinforcement learning. So that's one big trend that's finally ready to move from the lab to use cases in the real world. And the other one I'll briefly mention is, I think it's going to be very important to think about how do all of these agents interact with each other. Right now, each of them is trained as an individual agent, deployed as though it's an individual agent. We know from human intelligence that a lot of our ability to be effective comes from our collective power, ability to work together. So figure out how do we build AI solutions that interface with each other as well as with humans who still will remain an important partner in the equation. And then that's going to open up a lot of interesting frontiers.
I will catch you more at the end when we're backstage on that topic. One final quick thing, for those in this room who have not started using AI or thinking about how they're going to deploy it in their organizations, what advice would you give as where to start?
I'm going to lean into something a little bit unorthodox. I think people, often think about their AI strategy. They think about what's the data, what's the model, what's the infrastructure, and all of that. And often the missing ingredient is culture. Thinking through how do we bring change to an organization? What does that mean in terms of how work is done, how people work together? Who is the champion for bringing in that change and doing it in a way that, at least in the early stage, is very much in a spirit of learning and adapting to that change? I think thinking through who's going to carry that cultural aspect of the change is going to be important for that to be effective. We have a lot to learn together. Yes. And that change is going to be a challenge, but I think it's needed, and it can be an incredibly exciting opportunity.
Wonderful. Perfect note to finish on. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you.
Please welcome back to the stage Dave Levy and Kirsten Robinson from Amazon Web Services.
Thank you, Nicole and Joelle. That was a fascinating conversation. While Cohere helps to build the future of AI, your organization should feel equally empowered to pursue generative AI projects. And that's why AWS launched the Generative AI Impact Initiative, which is a $50 million investment to support public sector organizations using our generative AI services and infrastructure. And so far, over 300 customers and partners worldwide have received promotional credits, training, and technical expertise to basically implement their projects. The fund remains in effect until June the 30th, 2026, so make certain that you take advantage of this initiative.
I just want to reinforce what Kirsten said about the Impact Initiative. The technology is advancing so quickly, and I encourage everyone to engage with the tools as soon as you can. And the Impact Initiative is an easy engagement. There's a lot of opportunity there. Go and sign up today. And so while I love the promise of the Impact Initiative, I have a soft spot for the AWS Imagine Grant. The Imagine Grant supports nonprofits who use cloud technology to accelerate their missions all over the world. And we expanded the program to Canada for the first time this year. And I'm proud to announce the inaugural winners. Achieve, the Canadian National Institute for the Blind, and Inclusion Canada. Representatives from all three organizations are in the audience, and I'd like you to please stand up. Come on, soak it in. This is your moment. Congratulations to all of you. We're really honored to help you advance your work.
Okay, amazing not-for-profits. Thank you, Dave, and congratulations again to all of the winners. All of the insights shared with you today are a reality because AWS is architected to be the most flexible and secure cloud. Security is and will always be our foundation. From building security, our customers can scale with robust infrastructure that Jesse highlighted, infrastructure that is powered and is part of a vast global network that powers sovereign Canadian innovation from coast to coast to coast. And from that core, you can combine flexible compute options, scalable storage solutions, and powerful databases to unleash the power of AI capabilities. But these are not just technical building blocks. They are fuel to drive public sector transformation.
Transformation that directly impacts millions of Canadians, like the benefits delivery modernization taking place at ESDC, or the boundary-pushing AI that Cohere is developing. The future is unfolding across this country. So whether it's in education or government, healthcare, or the nonprofit space, the public sector is building remarkable solutions on AWS. So as we close, I challenge you to think big. What can you build to transform your corner of the public sector? How can you better serve Canadians? The possibilities are limitless. AWS is here to support you every step of the way. Together, we'll build a future that meets the needs of Canadians today and anticipates and exceeds the expectations for tomorrow. Thank you and merci for taking the journey with AWS. Enjoy the rest of the symposium.
Thank you.